How we save cost on UI mockups, meaning we are using a certain principle called breadboards. And in this video, we are showing you how to create these mockups that lead up to an MVP, how we create them very fast. And where other startups spend 10K for just a presentation, we do this for less than 500 bucks. And here in this video, we're gonna outline this 5-step process. And in step number 5, we also show exactly the instructions we give to the front-end developer so that they can get to work and also don't overcharge us, which is important in our testing phase. The situation for us is right now the following. This just happened the last week. Someone wanted to build a software business with me. They approached me and it's still in the idea stage. So it's a risky thing and it's not a formulated partnership yet. So I wanted to show them some kind of demo, but I couldn't invest too much into that because it's just something that might not even happen. At the same time, I wanted to show them something that actually proves that we can deliver, we as a software agency. So we needed something very fast, a very cheap and fast way to create a software demo. So something like a click prototype would be totally fine. And I remember the interview I had with this guy called Fabian. He is a UX coach, this guy here, the UX coach, and he has a lot of experience with building dozens of products. And in this call, it looked like this. In this call, he showed me a principle called breadboards. And what that actually is a way that's invented by the 37 Signals company. That's a company that built Ruby on Rails, that built Basecamp and Hey.com. And they developed this principle that basically leads them directly from the idea over to this principle breadboards and then into a clickable prototype. And I thought, okay, let's just give it a shot and see how that goes. And it worked surprisingly well. So we copied it from 37 Signals. Not many people are using this tool and I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense because it's really powerful, gets to the goal very fast, and it's also much cheaper. What I like about it, it enables me to think clearer about a solution without getting entangled into software development. So this is now the 4-step process we have, 4 steps that lead us to make those clickable prototypes. Another thing I want to point out before we dive into this, even after the MVP start, even after the demo stage, once we showed the clickable prototype to the prospect or to the client, going from there into the MVP development gives another speed up. Because if you already have a click prototype in HTML, in the framework, then it's going to be much faster to actually develop the MVP. And this is what I really like about this, me as a backend developer. Okay, so how does this work? The 4 steps are the following. The first one, most important, you got to get a clear idea of what this problem is you're going to solve. And that only happens through talking with the product owner, if you have one, in a project, let's say, or directly to the customer. And usually we have recorded calls for that because then we can reflect, we can go over the notes again. But apart from that, apart from this call, it's just you sit in the call and you let the people speak and listen to their problems and you take notes. That's what I did. I took a bunch of notes and threw them all into my Notion and then later on into this app that I want to show you. To get more clarity on what to do in that step, we have 2 interviews on this. The one is with John Reineck and the other one is Cesar Halmagian. Both are people who are pre-selling their products, and they gave me a good idea of what to actually do in this stage and how to approach this. So for example, what John says is, it's not really important with how many people you talk. It is important that you talk thoroughly with a few very interested people. So for example, a call that's over 2 hours with one very interested person can be as valuable as if you have like 5 smaller ones. Okay, so in my call, I talked with a potential partner and I just took the bunch of notes. And so that gave me an idea of what they actually wanted to build. Okay, over to the second step. Now I'm using a tool on my iPad, which is called Freeform. And with Freeform, I now draw the breadboards. And this picture might look confusing. I'm gonna open this right now for you. It might look confusing, but it is actually very simple. So if we just look at this one thing. So we want to check a result of an SKU. So we want to check a product for a couple of wholesalers. And from there, we see if it's available or not. And then we want to create an agent. And it gives me a certain price and it gives me an interval how often this should be checked. So just imagining this is one screen. And for me as a software developer, I know pretty much what needs to get done there. A UI designer would also know what needs to get done there. A front-end designer, a front-end developer would also know that. For someone who's a layman or maybe not really, someone who's not really versed in software development, this might take some learning, but there is actually the resource in the Shape Up book, which we can look into right now. Okay, so the breadboards that are described by Basecamp, this page doesn't load right now, but we have a couple of images. They do it in this way. It's also very simple, and what I've been doing was just almost the same thing, maybe a bit more complicated. So you just basically say, from this page, you show this information and those buttons, and here you go over to the next page. So this page, when you create an agent, you lead over to this page where you actually have the agent. And then this is a checkbox, this is a button, and this is an input field for a number, and this is input field for a date. All those things are clear when you have a developer. I can recommend this tool here. It's great because you can put it on your iPad and it syncs everything. It's just very convenient to handle, especially if you have some kind of stylus to work with. Now, when you have the breadboards, you can now get the first client feedback. So now this is the phase where you call the client again. And this is what I did around a week ago. I just called them and said, okay, look, I need you to be a bit tolerant. This is not perfect. It doesn't look pretty, but it's going to be functional. And then I explained what each step does. And then I just listened for feedback. And this was also a recorded call because now I could give the recorded call and give it to the front-end developer, which was super important. Also what we did here, and you see this on these green check marks and this one, which is just in parentheses, this is the MVP tags. So basically every time a screen should be included in the MVP, that's a point where I set the green check mark. And there are a couple of ones outside this picture here where I had a cross. So I said, this is not part of the MVP. This would really help to focus down on what are the important things you gotta work through, and also as an input for the front-end developer. Okay, so this basically was it. And now we have the image. So we take this image here, export it as a PDF, also export the recorded call with a customer and give this to the front-end developer. Now the front-end developer only needs to listen to this call, maybe 1 hour. They need to check this image from Freeform. And now what they need to do, and there are a couple of important things that I want to go into now. They need to create a software that is basically without any functionality and only contains the views. But there is a catch. I asked the front-end developer to code this in a framework. So it's not just HTML, it is actually a framework that we can deploy on a server that people can look at. Because only then it is actually interesting to look at. Only then you can show it to the client and say, we're almost done. This is here. This is on a domain. Yeah, this was important for us. And there are a couple of more things that we gave to the front-end developer that I want to go into right now. This is the list. This is the list you can also give to the front-end developer. I touched base on this before. We use Ruby on Rails, but you can use Laravel or anything else. There are also good templates from people being sold online for $120. But anything that you can use later on for the MVP. Let's say if you're about to hire an agency that works with Symfony framework and you want to give them a head start in that work, then you would, of course, code this thing with Symfony. The next super crucial part is that you absolutely must use a component framework. And I'm going to give you an example in a bit how this actually looks like. Because with a component framework, you can reuse the things. You don't have to code the front end by yourself. You don't need to say this button is red, this button is green. It comes out of the box. Okay, before I show this to you real quick, these last 3 points, you don't use a database, everything is mock, but you need to have everything navigatable so you can actually give demos and you need to put it on a website. Okay, so this is what comes out of it. And this is how it looks right now. So let's look into the software right now. Okay, so this is the thing you saw before on the breadboard. And this is what the front-end developer did. This is full HTML and it's fully navigatable. And we can put something in here. So this is the thing that comes out here. Check SKU is this one. You put in the number, you click the buttons here and you say check. This is all it has here. And there is a sidebar. So of course the breadboard does not contain a sidebar, but it makes sense. The front-end developer was able to kind of imagine that this is important. And then you can say check. And now we have the check SKU, which is this thing here. So you say, okay, the first wholesaler doesn't have it. Oh, the first has it and the other one doesn't have it. So for the second one, we can now say create agent. And now we have the new agent here, which is this one. We have the amount, we have the max amount per month. I think we had a date field here, so this pause on. So this is a mistake, but fine, we can correct that. But the cool thing now is that we can now show this to the prospect. We can now actually use this to finalize the pre-sales and now collect some money. This has been a game changer for me as a business owner and also as a startup founder. And I hope you can also take this away and clone it for yourself and see what you can do and how much time you can save. I would love to know if you've built an MVP yourself. How much money did it cost you or how much time did it cost you? Please leave a comment below. It would be amazing to start the discussion with you.